lane, it's just not quite as good synergy as we might like to see. On purple team, they have a Elise, a Jinx, a Galio, a Taric, and a Kayle. So I'm assuming that's going to be a top lane Kayle versus Ancient Renegado's Darius. Kayle does incredibly well versus Darius, assuming you position properly. Galio, on the other hand, going mid, I'm assuming, and is pretty good versus Diana. Unfortunately, it's really hard to say how well Galio does in each matchup unless it's like a direct hard counter. But Galio, he's going to have a lot of magic resist, and Diana does magic damage, and I don't really have any complaints there. So it's a fine matchup. It's just going to boil down to skill and how well they play. Then, of course, bot lane, they have the Taric Jinx versus the Leona Caitlyn. Jinx is not that good at fending off a Leona. She has no hard disengage, she has no hard repositions. Obviously, traps work nicely, but they do take a while to activate. So it's going to put a lot of pressure on Taric and how well he's able to diffuse those situations, and how well Jinx is able to position to avoid being engaged on. And Elise, of course, amazing jungler. Still, they can nerf her as much as they want, but her kit is just very, very overloaded and is always going to be really strong. So overall, both teams have interesting team comps. They don't necessarily completely mesh together, and none of them are like all assassins or all snowball champions. They're just kind of all over the place on both teams. The only thing I would point out is that if Galio lands a really good ult, that's going to allow Jinx to really, really snowball. Because once you get that first kill on Jinx, her passive just is a huge amount of mobility and allows her to continue to clean up more and more kills. And with a Taric, Elise, Galio, and Kayle, all of those champions are really good at sort of peeling and keeping an AD carry alive.
What concerns me about Blue Team's comp is that their engage is largely dependent on Hecarim and Leona Ease. They're very short range, except for Caitlyn obviously, very short range comp. Their initiation is loaded onto a couple of abilities, and that can be problematic, especially against a team that is able to work against that. So whenever you have a team where Hecarim needs to land his ult for a wonderful engage, Leona needs to land her E, that can be troublesome. However, they do have a lot of peel for Caitlyn, so they may just be able to siege and sit back as opposed to worrying about team fights.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, my concern here is, who is Diana killing? Jinx obviously is the only target she can really assassinate on that team, but look at how much they're going to have to disengage that. Diana really has to be able to kill the AD carry. That's her prime purpose at this stage. And I just don't see that happening if they position properly. They're going to have Kayle ult to just make Jinx invincible. They're going to have Galio ult to cancel out Diana's engage. They're going to have Taric for just a point-and-click stun. Like, I don't see Diana pulling that off unless she's really, really fed. And it seems unlikely to me that a Diana would get very fed when versus a Galio.
Speaking as someone who did play Galio all throughout Season 2, Galio's sustain and Galio's tankiness is largely against damage over time. Mm-hmm. So he counters Cassiopeia. He counters anyone with a slow tick, so Swain for instance. Diana's damage is largely front-loaded into one large burst. So with the right situations, Diana may be able to shut Galio down in lane before he can turn into a tanky threat.
For sure. My concern, though, is that standard Galio gameplay is you drop your QE and walk away because it's one-shot the wave. So at what point during that combo is Diana jumping in and killing him? It's going to boil down to Galio mispositioning for Diana to be able to land and engage in the first place.
Post 6, Diana may be able to get in there. I think that really depends on, again, a misposition or being outplayed. So we'll definitely see how it goes. I think there's a lot of potential for either side to prevail. But if you look at the numbers, it should be a very interesting matchup.
Okay, so we asked earlier about audio balancing. They're saying that your volume is very, very quiet, right, Requine? Do you have any audio options there that you could maybe increase volume at all?
Let me check. 1 second.
Yeah, because I have everything maxed on my side. I'm going to try one more change. Okay, try speaking now.
Test, test, I am speaking.
Yeah, see, it doesn't seem to increase the volume really in OBS, which is strange because you're very, very loud on my side.
Yeah, my Skype volume is maxed as well.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll be able to hear. I'm going to lower my volume slightly so that I don't blast their eardrums, and then hopefully they can just turn up their speakers or something.
Yeah, I might need to like play around with my sound settings at some point, like my client, see how that goes.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too much of an issue at this point. Okay, so game's about to start here. Everyone's loaded in 100%. I know that Paragon Fury was having an issue connecting originally, but he just reloaded his client, so he should be good to go. And game is starting now. Ooh, that's cool. They have a spectate guide, essentially, that pops up now.
Yes, it's for. I think that started with like that was began when it came out, and I think you might have reinstalled or something that would lead to it refreshing.
I completely forgot it existed.
So if we look at starts, Leona has the Ancient Coin and a Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation. I know that is really not your preferred start. You are not a huge Ancient Coin fan.
I'm a coin fan, I just don't like starting at level 1.
Right, you prefer the D shield, which, interesting fact, it is currently undergoing some really heavy nerfs. They're cutting the base health, they're dramatically cutting the regen on it. So we may see coin first become a more optimal start.
A summoner has reconnected.
Yeah, there's nothing necessarily wrong with starting coin, it's just that you win every single trade if you start with the Doran's Shield.
Blue team has a lot of ignites on their side, and that can really cut down on Kale's sustain, Galio's sustain. It'll be interesting to see how that affects team fights. As for other starts, both junglers are starting with the typical machete. Actually, Elise has a Doran's Blade, which is interesting. That should give her a good amount of early game power, if not much sustain. And Galio is starting with a null magic mantle, so he's clearly looking to shut Diana down as early as possible.
Correct me if I'm wrong, would Galio not prefer to start Flask? Because he is very, very mana hungry.
He is very mana hungry, and he cannot clear a minion wave with one combo until about post level 6. So we will see Galio likely struggling with mana. However, he will be able to go back and get a Chalice early on with that start. But that will give Diana some room to catch back up. So a Flask might have been a better choice for, or Fairy Charms, honestly, than the flat Magic Resist.
Yeah, as much as I like the idea of going flat Magic Resist start, I would have expected a Flask into a Chalice rush, into an Athene's rush, and then going something a little bit more aggressive, like either a Rod of Ages or an Abyssal.
So we are seeing mid. Galio did manage to outtrade Diana, especially if Diana took a fair chunk of minion damage there. That being said, Galio is very low on mana. So we'll see. Diana is very good at sustaining. She's very good at staying in lane. She's especially when she's low on mana even. She can really stay and trade longer than a lot of AP champions.
Ancient Renegado taking a lot of harass here, trying to go in for CS. Kale is able to burst back onto him every time he goes in, and unfortunately he's already through his potion and he's less than half health. So if he goes in for another combo and Kale takes 3, I would expect Kale to walk away with a kill. Kale's side though, she didn't stutter step at all. She Q auto attacked and then just sort of stood in minions. So she could have got probably 2 more auto attacks onto the Darius for essentially no damage in return.
Bot lane is kind of just going at a regular pace. Both sides are being a little bit cautious. Jinx did manage to land a trap that caught both Leona and Caitlyn. They weren't able to follow up and turn that into some unaggressive action, which is fine. And they're just dancing back and forth for now.
I want to point out what this Diana's doing. She knows that Galio has no mana, so she's constantly pushing the wave. Auto attack Q, auto attack, auto attack, auto attack Q, over and over and over again, just to try and push the wave in. And as a result, it looks like Elise is trying to come in, so that's to be expected. But on Diana's side, that's really good decision making to say, okay, we know that Galio can't really do anything to me now because he has no mana. I may as well just push in and make him lose CS, make them try and focus me. Because, yeah, technically it's a 2v1 versus Diana, but Galio can't contribute to that fight. He might get one skill off.
Also, props to Fate. She saw Elise come in, and instead of panicking, a lot of people would have panicked. They would have flashed out. They would have essentially panicked and blown a cooldown when they saw it 2 versus 1. Instead, Fate stayed calm. She threw down some auto attacks. She popped up her shield and just walked towards tower.
Leona lends the E onto Taric, turns around, Qs onto Jinx. Really good decision making there to stun the AD carry rather than what you would normally do, where it's like, oh, well, my E pulled me to Taric, so I'm going to stun him. Good decision making on the Leona's part. A lot of harass coming out from them, and blue team definitely has a deciding lead in this bot lane right now. They are way ahead in CS. They're ahead in every single way. And so at this point, it's their lane to lose. As Elise, I might think that it would be worthwhile getting down there soon, because Taric can set up and engage pretty easily. He can bait in the Leona E, and then turn around and stun Caitlyn, and then Elise can follow that through for likely a kill. That being said, though, purple team, no, I changed to colorblind mode, so the red team now. But purple team is really low, so it would be risky for them to join that fight. Back mid lane, Fate going aggressive onto the Galio. Again, Galio's 0 mana and just not able to really trade back against it.
Jinx is using all of rockets to farm, which again is giving her a little bit of a... Leona goes in, the Caitlyn Peacemaker hits, Ignite goes off, and that's first blood for blue team. So excellent follow-up by Caitlyn there. Leona went in, and Caitlyn decided to follow her support. She Leona had the Ignite down on Jinx. Max range Q to pick up the kill. That was really well played. That wasn't...
Looks like Diana's going to take down Elise mid. Elise made the issue of trying to fight in the middle of a minion wave. She repelled up. Fate went to the only living minion that Elise could really go to. And as soon as she came back down, comboed onto her, and then flash auto attack to finish off the kill. So really good decision making on her part. Little bit of a misplay, though, by Elise, trying to stand in the middle of like 8 minions and fight. That's just an unwise decision.
With Fate on Diana, we're seeing someone who's played a champion to the point where they're very comfortable with standing and fighting. They know cooldowns, they know what they're capable of, and that's giving her a big advantage in mid lane.
For sure, and as I always say, play what you're comfortable with, play what you like. I might not think that Champion X is a strong pick. It doesn't matter if it's a strong pick if you know how to use it.
That's not true. I said I wanted to go Quinn mid, and you beat me with a tire iron until I was unconscious.
That's called Friday Nights.
Oh, okay, my bad.
It had
They
nothing
get
to do
still on Galio. Galio ulted, but he wasn't able to really reflect much damage. And because Diana's passive continues to trigger when she's auto-attacking Galio, she just managed to just follow up and get the kill despite that. Galio, if I were him, I would have saved his ult. It's a really important cooldown. It can be the difference between a successful gank and just a jungler coming mid and not getting anything done. When you're being attacked, when you feel like you're gonna die, it's easy to panic and blow cooldowns, but sometimes you should just save them and accept that you're dead and prepare for next time you're back.
We see a Hecarim coming up top here. He's trying to fight a level 6 Kayle. Kayle still has ult. Looks like they are backing out. Diana is coming up. Interesting to see it. Nope, misses the Q. Rushed it a little bit, unfortunately. She's going to land the pull, though, the Moonfall, I believe it is, and pick up the kill. Nice. Very, very nice. Kayle did have ult, though, so I'm surprised that she didn't use it. It might not have saved her, though. It's interesting to me, though, that Diana has gone for double Dorans and into a Negatron. I don't often see Diana's rushing magic resist. I guess she's worried about how Galio's going to bully her, and there is a lot of magic damage on the other team, so I like the idea of magic resist in general, but I would think that she'd want to get like a Void Staff or something first.
Abyssal is a very strong item on Diana, and it gives both defensive and offensive stats, so she's probably going for that.
Oh, I agree, but I would have expected to see like a Void Staff rush when you're dealing with a Galio mid.
The thing is with Diana versus Galio is when you cannot land a Q, his E2 combo outranges Diana, and even though it's quite slow, Diana is not very high mobility when she's not ulting around. So I can understand the choice to go with the flat magic resist. Are we seeing lag in mid lane?
It looks like there's a little bit of a stutter. Diana goes back in onto Galio, lands the double ult, and yet another kill onto her. So as we said in selection, Diana really does have to outplay this Galio in order to land stuff. At this point she's snowballed, so she's going to continue to do so. Unfortunately though, Galio just not able to set up what he needed to early to make that not happen. Good CC chain. They're able to take out Elise before she can get into repel, and that's just overlapping CC essentially perfectly.
Right, what we're seeing is an example of comfort over encounter. People are playing what they're strong with, and they're playing champions that they're comfortable with over what's OP, or what's the counter on lolcounter.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm assuming this Kayle actually knows how to play Kayle, because looking at her, she is playing it quite well, and I mean, she has the expensive skin, so she must know what she's doing.
Oh, I remember being a baby LoL player, and I'm like, oh my god, that guy has a skin. Oh, we're so doomed.
Exactly. See,
So
that's when you play one of the, like, hyper rare skins, and everyone just rage quits at level 1.
Oh, that's why I roll around with a bronze season 1 icon. I have people being like, you played season 1? My god. So bot lane we have Caitlyn. She's shoving the lane. She's pretty confident, and she's not really being afraid of the Taric stun into a Jinx combo, and with good reason. They have a very big lead on the competition. Leona gets an E, headshot on Jinx. Ult goes down. It looks like Jinx is not going to be able to escape, and Taric does not block the ult. In Taric's defense, I feel like it has been quite buggy and difficult to block Caitlyn ults lately. I'm not sure if that's a bug, or if they just narrowed the block hitbox.
Oh, that was a really nice combo from Fate, I gotta admit.
Fate is just cleaning up mid lane, my god.
Yeah, and Fate has mentioned this a couple times, usually when I fail my Diana horribly, the like twice I've played her. If you use your E and it's going to hit, you can ult before the particle ever connects, and it will still reset your ult. So that's what she's doing. She's launching Q, and the second Q is launched from her character, not once it's hit, she ults onto them, and then she can still ult a second time without any issue.
Right, it kind of retroactively applies.
Exactly.
Ult.
So Elise is going to get caught out here by another Leona. Leona never used her... Oh, Q was on cooldown, that's why. She is going to go down for sure, and unfortunately this is a very one-sided game. Darius does land an engage onto Kayle. Unfortunately, though, just not enough damage. I think the Darius ult could have been saved. Just keep chasing, because Darius gets stacks based on how many blood stacks are on Kayle. And so you just keep chasing and keep auto-attacking. About 2 auto-attacks a Q, and then an ult would have done it.
Darius is struggling in top lane against Kayle. Half her farm, he's a kill down, and yet he's still managing to trade with her. He's not panicking, he's not, and Hecarim and Diana did manage to come top. He's holding his tower. When you're top lane and you're behind, it's very easy to get intimidated, to get frustrated, and just start throwing, not even like purposely, but just as a reaction. So, you know, good job on Darius for keeping its head straight.
Jinx ult just barely misses poor Diana.
Both Diana and Kayle, the Jinx ult is just shy of both of them. Bot lane though, Caitlyn picks up a kill on Jinx. She does get caught with the line of grenades. Elise is coming from behind, but they will pick up the kill on Taric.
No. Oh, there we go, the ult. Elise is now in behind. I would expect Leona to get another stun on here, and that's going to be a triple kill essentially for Caitlyn.
Caitlyn and Leona are just playing together really well. Leona isn't being overly aggressive. I see a lot of Leonas assume that it's ham all the time. Instead, she is waiting for her carry to be realistically able to follow up on aggression. And Caitlyn, for her part, is doing her half of the deal. She is following up on E's and such.
So you're trying to tell me that it's not always ham time? I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
Oh, my bad. Bronze level tactics here.
Kayle trying to go back. Looks like she is going to make it before Hecarim's able to do anything. Hecarim could have just ulted over the wall, but it would have been somewhat risky. He would have just got slowed in the turret.
Right, diving is not always the best decision, especially when you're ahead. You don't really need to dive a lot of the time. It's tempting, it's fun, but it can really put you behind.
Exactly. Elise now caught out. They're just catching everyone out, and unfortunately, it just doesn't give us much to commentate on. At this point, though, Elise needs to be keeping an eye on where the enemy team reliably should be at any given moment. If you have any doubts of if they're still there, just give up the turret. Dying and still giving up the turret doesn't do anything, right?
Diana is doing an excellent job of roaming to the appropriate place. She's picked up a couple kills up top, and you know she's not taking Galio's tower, which means that she can continue to shut him down. He can't leave the tower. He can't farm really efficiently. So she's doing some excellent. She's not getting greedy and going for the short-term gain. She's playing smart. And it looks like she's about to pick up another kill. Hecarim dies to the tower, but Diana does pick up the kill. So kill him with assist.
I want to point out that both mid laners have really cool skins. I've not seen that Galio skin in game before, and it looks amazing.
I own it. It's pretty sweet. Kayle is coming around. The animation is almost finished for recall, and Kayle just barely misses Diana.
That was unfortunate. Oh, Elise is apparently raging. Okay. So we need to try and remind you guys that raging is never permittable. It doesn't matter how well or how poorly your team is. How well your team is doing. Shit talking, verbal abuse, anything like that will not be tolerated in these games. These are friendly games.
Right, and not to single anyone out, but when you're shit talking, when you're raging, when you're going, my fucking team sucks so bad, what's your end game there? Are you seriously thinking that your team will go, oh, wow, I really do suck. My bad. I'm gonna uninstall and you know, I'm gonna take up knitting instead. Do you think they're gonna do that, or do you think they're gonna start feeding to spite you? And that's honestly, like, when you rage at your team, you're not getting anything done. It's just, please don't.
Exactly. So I think we've warned Ambitious about this before, haven't we? Brian, do you remember? Okay, so he's already been warned once. He's now banned. So Kayle is going for the Gnasher's Tooth build, which is sort of what we would expect. That being said, I don't understand why you would go Berserker's Greaves on Kayle. Berserker's Greaves is not that strong of an item. It doesn't offer very much attack speed at all for the item slot. Instead, you could run Source Boots, you could run Cooldown Boots, you could run Merc, like literally any boot other than like Boots 5 or something would probably be better in 9 times out of 10.
Blue team is pushing top. Hecarim's coming around. Let's see if they'll be able to get Kayle. Kayle flashes, heals, gets the speed boost. Darius is going to grab her. Lands the grab. Hecarim ults. And the ult goes down. But I don't think it'll be enough.
Definitely not.
I just want to point out that we do seem to have a lot of female players participating in the workshop. And, you know, without being a bit of a cringe-worthy Casey Strong, I do want to say that's really excellent that we have created a sort of community where we have, you know, ladies rolling around and not hiding anything, not getting harassed, and that's really excellent. I am a huge fan of this community for and, you know, having female players and such. Openly participating is part of the results of all the hard work Chris and Brian have been doing. So thanks so much.
Yeah, not a problem. We try and make it a welcoming place.
That's not true. You sent me a very harassing letter. I felt very harassed. I had to move 3 times. Caitlyn's shoving mid. The entire team is there. So Caitlyn and Leona might get caught out. Tarek's moving forward, but thinks better of it. However, it does look like Galio is kind of harassing and pushing, so doesn't seem like anything's happening, but both teams are kind of poking and engaging. Caitlyn's putting traps down. She's kind of preparing for a siege of the tower. Caitlyn's best strength as an AD is shoving down towers from range. So she's really preparing for that, and they're not about to do an ARAM battle, which is good.
Yeah, and unfortunately it is very difficult to do proper matchmaking right now because no one is at their correct rating. So there's no reliable way for us to pair you up with players. So I apologize if we are going to get some one-sided games, but you learn from defeat, you learn from victory. Just as we've said a number of times now, raging, verbal abuse, shit-talking, none of that is acceptable in these games. Ambitious, you realize that you are going to be banned from this stream now. You're not allowed to verbally abuse others. These games are just for fun. They are not designed to be taken seriously outside of seriously practicing. And yeah, no. He's bitching in the stream, yes, please ban him.
If you want to have a really hardcore environment where only the best players are allowed and no mistakes are acceptable, you can find another stream.
Exactly. These are a workshop for people who are not playing their best. Like, they're trying to learn, so I don't know why you would expect them to make no mistakes or win every game. You actually do learn things from being stomped. I learn things all the time. I'll have a lot of really bad games, but you need to focus on what you could have done better. Ways that you could play better, work on your mechanics, work on your decision making, work on communication with your team. I understand this was a little bit one-sided. I totally understand that. Unfortunately, that's not something that can be easily avoided. It's not like we have access to MMR or anything like that, and ratings just aren't very accurate yet. Alright, so we are going to start the next game. I apologize for the one-side match. I also apologize for the Rager. He has been banned from the stream, removed from friends list, and will be excluded from all further games.